So what we're going to do now is look at, special methods of training or methods of training.
Yeah.
Now, the methods we are going to get into, I would say, are more advanced methods in discussion. All right. What I want you to keep in mind, though, and let me just see my notes on this. Right, is if with these methods, they're pieces of a puzzle. That's the way I look at it. Certain methods will fit better with each piece of a puzzle. Some methods won't. And think of it to get towards like where the client wants to get to. All right. Now, for some clients, right, that may come to you, special methods may not be the way to program. It might be more what's called a linear approach to training, which we'll cover in future videos. Basically, what I mean by that, you have it like, for example, a GPP phase, you're working on movements, there's higher reps. The next phase, you keep it simple. You might go into a 10 to 12 method. What that means is, maybe your A series at 10 to 12 reps of each exercise. Maybe for the rest of them, they come up a little bit more, 12 to 14 in your Bs and Cs, etc. And then after that next 4 weeks, you've done a GPP, 10 to 12, and then you go 8 to 10. The intensity comes up. So you may not be changing too many exercises with that either, right?
Yeah.
So my point here is you're growing their nervous system, teaching them how to load correctly, teaching them the exercises correctly, and then you're raising intensity over time, right, with those exercises. So keep in mind that there's different ways to program. We're going to talk about advanced methods now, but sometimes keeping it simple is going to be best for your client.
Yeah. Okay? Like for beginners and stuff like that.
Correct. So you might future forecast that. You have someone come in, they're a beginner. You're like, okay, cool. For the next, 12 plus weeks, I'm going to teach you, which is good because you're a guide, you're a mentor. I'm going to teach you how to strength train. We're going to learn to move correctly. The methods I'm going to do are going to be in what we call a linear progression model. So basically intensity comes up over time. And then as you're ready, we're going to get in more advanced methods later. Once I see that you know how to lift heavy, once I see that you know how to do the exercises correctly, and we build a good base, So it helps future forecasting as well.
Yeah.
Very important just to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Now, the cool thing about special methods, right? They can be very effective in short-term periodization. So what I mean by that is they can get possibly quicker results than other methods. Like we did a method today, the drop set method. It's intense, right?
Yeah.
So that'll create, a lot of muscle growth. So they can be very effective for getting quick results, basically. They can be fun for the clients and coach to program as well, okay, which is important, all right? Now, the principles will always be what matter, but your client, you want into the program. They want to enjoy it. And like I often say, you want to win the workout, okay? And like I said at the bottom, you can get results very quickly if used in the right context. You heard me say today in our meeting, when would we use the 8-8-8 method, the drop set method? Would we use it in an aggressive deficit? No, not really, So it needs to be used in the right context.
Yeah.
All right. Now, understand there's different kind of pathways that these methods will work. Okay. We have like metabolic stress pathways. We have more mechanical tension pathways. There's different things that the workouts will do, and you'll understand this as I go through. So metabolic stress kind of methods, what they're going to do is build up a lot of lactic acid, and I'll cover some methods, what they look like in a second. These are the principles of what they do. They increase IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, all right, which is fantastic for fat loss. This is one why they can get more fat loss. Growth hormone increase, once again, fantastic for fat loss.
Yeah.
Kind of methods increase that. Due to the lactate and metabolic stress, this will oxidize more fat for energy.
Okay.
Why they're very good for body composition.
Yeah.
Make sure clients' nutrition is on point, because if their nutrition isn't on point, there may be higher cortisol, higher stress hormones, which will raise inflammation and hence my next point, make sure client stress management is on point. So they're getting good sleep, you know, they're not too stressed during the day, they're not burnt out, etc.
Yeah.
These are very good methods I find with slow twitch clients, also fast twitch, but slow twitch clients as well, to get more volume in at times. And then we also have, just as an idea of splits for workouts, one way I really like is males agonist and antagonist split, females upper and lower splits. What that means is, you know, for example, chest and back for guys is a good pairing, quads and hamstrings for guys, that's agonist and antagonist muscles. For ladies, I like going upper and lower, shoulders and glutes, quads and back. Okay. I just have found that's the way I do my results. I like that split and I find it works really well.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into the methods themselves. All right. So understand metabolic stress methods. The reason they are better for fat loss is because of these reasons. These are the principles that they help with. Okay. Now, these are some methods that help this. They help, you know, growth hormone increase, oxidizing more fat for fuel, building up lactic acid. All right. German body composition is a fantastic, or also known as GBC, is a fantastic method to use. Okay. Now, this can be modified, I will say, even when you have clients that are more advanced when they see you. So you may have things you want to work on in terms of their movement patterns. This may be a method you could use if they're a bit more advanced and don't want to do a GPP phase with. Okay. Right. That will actually speed up their body composition results more so than a GPP phase. But they, you know, be smart with the person you put this with, you know. Now, the German body composition, they're full body workouts for guys and girls. They're upper and lower pairing for guys and girls. Again, a little bit of what I said here with agonist, antagonist, you could do a GBC like that, but traditional way, lower pairing. Now, it drives a lot of lactate for sure. Okay, with these types of workouts, and I'll cover what it looks like in a second. But what happens is you have your heart, because we're pairing upper body with lower body, your heart has to work harder to push more blood flow through the whole body. Peripheral heart action, okay? So basically, you know, we're going to burn more and use more material because we're working the whole body. The heart's got to work harder to give that tissue the supply. Now, there's short rest periods in this as well. This is actually a great method to improve your cardio, all right? Aerobic capacity, sorry, because of short rest periods. So when people say, strength training doesn't help cardio, potentially it can. So methods like this is actually really good because you watch, the client's going to be breathing heavy if done properly due to short rest period.
Just high intensity.
Yeah, it's higher intensity. It's more density. So what that means is you get more work in a shorter amount of time done.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what happens is with this method as well, we drive what's called EPOC, exercise post-oxygen consumption. What that means is after the workout, at rest, the client's going to be burning more energy at rest as well. All right, because they're going to be requiring more oxygen coming in for recovery post this session. All right, so the magic in this program, the way to win it, is they're multi-joint exercises. So what that means is, now, if you're doing a corrective version or a modified version of this, you may use unilateral work, single arm rows, split squats, etc. Okay, that's if you're correcting things, no different than a GPP. Now, traditionally, though, this method is done with multi-joint, and what that means is you're doing things like, you know, a back squat, barbell back squat, if the client can do it, or a hack squat paired with a chin-up. Okay. So they're more compounding lifts, more multi-joint lifts. They're not really single leg, more bang for buck kind of lifts.
Yeah.
Okay. And for an example, you can see here, I've got A1 and A2. So back squat, for example, with this, very short rest, chin up, pronated grip, and then you rest for a short amount of time and come back into it. You know, there's different ways to chop up the rest periods. This is just one way.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you keep them? Would you keep the rest periods the same for everything, or could you alternate it like that?
Good question. So it really depends on the movements and the demand of that movement. So if you see, say here, slightly more rest for compound movements. Right?
Yeah.
What that means is, you know, your big back squats, your A series probably is where you're going to have the heavy work done, right? So you might take a little bit more rest. So if you look here, A1, A2, I got 60 seconds rest. B1 and B2, 45 seconds rest.
Yeah.
All right. So A1 and A2, B1, B2, what this is a pairing. And then in the same workout, that's your next pairing.
Yeah.
So depending on how much demand of that movement will depend on the rest period. However, keeping it simple, your A series should be the hardest exercises, and then it should go into the next hardest after that, right? So
yeah.
A series is usually where you have the longer rest, and then it gets less after that.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Now, this method is really good for clients that follow the plan, where we'll give them quicker results. It may not be the best for very, very, very stressed out clients.
Yeah.
Okay, that are very stressed out, right? Because once again, the liver is going to cop a beating with this, this specific method. So we don't want to cause, like I said, cortisol too high and cause too much inflammation, etc. All right.
Yeah.
But a very good method to get fast results with body composition due to once in these pathways, as well as the others we talked about. Okay. Cool. Now,
yeah, no, that was good.
These methods are in the app. What this is about is having reasoning. And what I mean by that is when you give someone, a program like this, you give basic reasoning so they understand it. You don't have to go too advanced with things and explain pathways too much, but basically you want to get them to understand how to win the workout and why it's important,
Yeah.
and teaching them. This is a style of workout that will help you burn more calories at rest. It will also help burn more fat while working out, more so than other methods, so keeping it simple, but you need to understand the details of it. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was good.
Any questions with this one still?
No, that was good. Yeah. I think I'm all good with that one.
Fantastic. Next one we have is a tricep method. All right. Now, these can be done in many different ways, to be honest. Okay. I have put up here full body workouts, but I'll say they can be done agonist, antagonist, full body, etc. Now, there's basically how it works is you have your pairing of 3 exercises on the same muscle group. So you have 3 exercises for quads paired together, 3 exercises for back paired together, and every single muscle group can have them paired together, okay? Now, it drives a lot of lactate because what's going to happen here, pathway-wise, is that there's extended sets. So you do a back squat, you go to heels elevated squat after that, and then you got a leg extension. But you're putting that muscle under stress for a long period of time, and there's a lot of tension. So what happens is there's a lot of lactate that starts to build up, right? So this is one that really challenges the lactate system, right?
Yeah.
Going through a fair bit of carbohydrates with this style as well. And the structure of it as well, you will see, you start with the compound movement. So you start with the hardest exercise at the start, basically, compound. Move to, and then it will eventually move down the line to a nice isolation exercise like leg extension.
Okay.
So like back squat, heels elevated squat, and then leg extension. You could also go back squat, dumbbell walking lunges, leg extension. You could go hack squat, goblet squat, leg extension. There's many ways to chop it up.
Yeah.
Just understand that you start with the hardest, go next, that's going to challenge it, and then go least. Now, what happens with this method as well is, see how right here fatigues all muscle fibers and hits higher end of the threshold. So you will fatigue, with the harder lifts at the start because they're 6 to 8 reps. That's more intense. Yeah. You'll fatigue your fast twitch fibers more, right? And they'll start to tap out, and then you'll go into more your fast twitch fibers and cause more oxidative stress to those fibers as well. All right. So it's a full spectrum of fatiguing your muscles in a way.
Yeah.
Now, we have 6, 12, and 25. You'll notice here the rep ranges are like 6 to 8, 10 to 12, 23 to 25. Or you could say 12, 25 reps, right? That's one scheme to do it. So A series is 6, A1 6, A2 is 12, A3 is 25. You could also do it in a way that's 8, 8, 15. Sometimes we do a trisets as well. A little bit more intensity coming down, not as much of a broad spectrum, but just understand this is one simple method, or the 8, 8, 15 is a way to do the method. Okay.
Yeah.
Depending what you want out of it.
So that would be good at building hypertrophy and losing body fat as well. Hey.
Yeah, correct.
It's working on like
Correct.
those main muscle groups. Yeah.
100%. 100%. Very good for hypertrophy. And very good for body composition, very good for burning fat, and very good for building up, weak areas of muscles as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Targeting. Yeah.
Yeah, not the best strength program, right? Like it's not, because it's so much fatigue. Like you're not going to get super strong on squats with this because there's a lot of fatigue associated with it. But yeah, it is good like that. I'll also say too, sets wise here, you can do 3 to 5 sets on each one, right? So
okay.
3 to 5 sets, and what will dictate 5 really depends how hard the client goes, right? So if you start to notice a massive drop off in their performance, right, you might have 3 to 5 sets, but then you notice a huge drop off in set 4, for instance. Well, then you would call it a day. You won't do set, right? But that's how it looks. So you got like your A series, B series, 3 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 sets of A series, 3 to 5 sets of B series. You can put C series in there as well if you want some accessory work on. And what I mean by that, you might have a C1 and C2 just working on movements or weak body parts, 12 to 14 reps, etc.
Like isolated exercises.
Yeah, isolated exercises if you wish, but this is the bulk of it.
Yeah. Okay? So say, would you program that, like say for someone like me working 4 days a week, like working out 4 days a week, you would program that for 4 days, like every day?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would put if it's a full body, say for ladies, this is really good. So it'll be similar to this for day one, back end quads, and then or day 2 would be quads, hamstrings and shoulders, right?
Yeah, alternate it, so it's not the same thing.
Rest, and then same thing, quad and back, and then hamstring shoulders.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
If you're doing 5 days, you could add an arms day in, bicep, tricep, or you can put a little accessory work for arms at the end if needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Same with German body composition. It's the same kind of split for ladies. For guys, you can go different. You can go agonist, antagonist. So they could do, back and chest, next day, quads and hamstrings. They could also go shoulders back, etc. That's also able to be done. Girls are just like upper lower.
Yeah.
All right. Now, at the end of the workout, you'll notice here I got 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 180 seconds. So 3 minutes plus, basically.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why there's a longer rest period with the tricep method, when you build up that much lactate, you need time for that lactate to come back down to a good level again to perform, right? So, so that's why we got a longer rest period with these methods at the end, or this tricep. Okay.
Yeah.
Different pathway compared to the German body composition. Okay. I overlap a little bit, but staying in that path longer of lactate.
They have some similar characteristics.
Yeah, correct. Well, German body composition, you don't hit that threshold because you're jumping in between exercises, right? So there is a degree of lactate with it, but this one, there's a lot more in that local muscle, You're really going to deplete that local muscle and challenge it. So that's the tricep method. Very good method as well, okay?
Yeah.
When finding out what weights to use, etc., be smart with your clients. No different than we did today. I found out what you could do for 12 reps on a certain exercise. That was the one we'd start from, but then you did 8 reps, Yeah. At least I know it's a challenging weight. You don't want to do stuff where it's too easy either, okay?
Would you drop the weight? Like say you started heavy and then would you drop the weight each set, or would you just keep it the same?
Aim to keep the weight every time that you choose. So if someone completed and hit the rep ranges within range, fantastic. Just make sure it was challenging and then go again at the same weights. And then, like I said, you use that as an indicator to see, okay, in set 4, they dropped off. We hit that threshold.
Yeah.
The next. And when I say dropped off, if they're hitting one or if they're just shy of a couple of reps, that's fine. But if they've got a big drop off and they're getting 3 reps when you've got 6 to 8, for example, all right, cool, we tanked out,
Yeah.
All right, sweet with this one.
Yeah, that was good.
Cool. Giant sets, right? Now, basically like the trisets, except this one's going to be 4 onwards of exercises. It's going to target the local muscle. Full body workouts, or it can be agonist-antagonist split. 4+ exercises on same muscle group. Drives a lot of lactate, no different than the tricep, just going to go for longer. Start with compound and end in isolation, just like the trisets. Fatigues all muscle fibers and hits higher end of threshold, just like the tricep. Longer rest at the end to buffer lactate, okay? As an example here, back squat, heels elevated squat, leg extension, then we have a prowler run. Very nasty on the legs, right? Now, exact same thought process with the tricep method, but you're adding extra exercises and extending that set even more. Okay. Very good for fat loss and hypertrophy with clients. All right. Very hard to do on very, very low food or low body fat, I would say. Okay.
Yep.
Any questions with this one?
No, you can see they're all sort of like similar in that, like they have similar characteristics, but they are different in certain ways as well.
Correct. So GBC is a bit different, but tricep and giant set is similar. We just added in more exercise.
Yeah.
So we can go up to 6+ exercises even. So 4+, sorry, but you can add in more exercises if you need.
Yeah.
All right. Now, post-exhaustion. This is a great method for targeting specific body parts to bring up, okay? It fatigues fast twitch and slow twitch fibers, much like the other ones. Accumulates lactate, so there is an increase in IGF-1, great for fat loss. Start compound, then end in isolation movement, all right? So think harder exercise, more demanding exercise, then end in isolation. There's different methods for this one. You got 625 or 614 method is a solid one to use. What that means is, you know, you do 6 to 8 reps and then 23 to 25, or 6 to 8 reps and 12 to 14 reps on the next one. They're paired sets. A and B series are the post-exhaust. So they've run like this one down below, or it's also known as a heavy light method. So you go heavy then lighter. The C series, okay, so you might have A1 and A2, B1, B2 that are heavy light or post-exhaust with this format. And then C series can be accessory work, 12 to 14 reps working on, you know, whatever you want to work on, okay, in terms of muscle or movement. Cool. Now, how this one looks, like this one below, you may have 5 sets for this, okay, where you're doing 4 to 6 reps on the first A1, not much rest period. Then you come into the leg extension, for example, after the back squat, and you do 23 to 25. And then you have a bit of a longer rest. Okay, not as long as a tricep in terms of rest that's needed, because you're not pushing that lactate as long. All right. So basically, it's doing a compound movement into isolation. And then you can add a C series in, which is accessory work. Really good method for hypertrophy as well. Any questions with this one?
No, that's a good one.
All right. Now, we may find the video stops. If it does,
oh yeah,
I'll plug back in. Okay. Actually, I might stop it now, and then I'll send you a new link. Give me a second because I'll save it. Okay.
Yeah, easy, no worries.
Speak to you soon.